He sat in the corner of the garage, hands over his face, crying. Felipe Massa had just lost the world championship, not by points, by seconds, 5 seconds, one corner, one mistake he didn't even make. And in that moment, surrounded by his team, his family, his country, Felipe Massa asked one question: what would Michael do? But Michael Schumacher wasn't there. He had retired 2 years earlier, and all the knowledge, all the secrets, all the lessons Michael had taught him, none of it mattered, because Felipe Massa had just learned the hardest truth in Formula One. Knowing what to do is not the same as being able to do it. This is the story of the teammate who knew too much, and the moment it all fell apart. Monza, Italy. Felipe Massa walks into the Ferrari garage for the first time as Michael Schumacher's official teammate. He's 25 years old, fast, talented, hungry, but he's also terrified, because sitting across from him, reviewing data on a laptop, is the greatest driver in Formula One history. 7 world championships, 91 race wins, a man who has rebuilt Ferrari from ruins into a dynasty, and now Felipe has to race against him. Michael looks up. You ready? Felipe nods. He's not. The first test session is a disaster. Felipe is slow, not a little slow, a lot slow, half a second per lap behind Michael. In Formula One, half a second is an eternity. After the session, Felipe sits in the engineering room. His head is down. His confidence is shattered. Michael walks in. He doesn't say anything at first. He just pulls up Felipe's data on the screen, then his own, side by side. Turn 7. Michael says, "You're braking 2 meters too early." Felipe looks at the data. Michael is right. Turn 11. You're not using all the track on exit. You're losing 3/10 there. Felipe nods. Turn 14. You're in 4th gear. You should be in 3rd. The engine response is faster. Michael closes the laptop. You're not slow. You're just thinking too much. Stop thinking. Start driving. He walks out. Felipe sits there, alone, and for the first time he realizes something. Michael Schumacher isn't just fast. He knows why he's fast, and that's the difference. Over the next 2 years, Michael teaches Felipe everything, not because he has to, because that's who Michael is. He doesn't see teammates as competition. He sees them as tools. If Felipe is faster, Ferrari is faster, and if Ferrari is faster, Michael wins. So he shares. He shares his setup preferences, the way he adjusts the front wing for different tracks, the way he manages tire degradation, the way he communicates with engineers. He shares his mental approach, how he visualizes every corner before the race, how he controls his breathing in the cockpit, how he stays calm under pressure. He shares his secrets, and Felipe learns. By mid-2006, Felipe is winning races. Turkey, he beats Michael. Germany, he beats Michael again. Brazil, his home race, he's on pole position. Michael is second. Felipe wins. The crowd erupts. The Brazilian flag waves. Felipe climbs out of the car, and his eyes are wet. Michael is the first person to congratulate him. You drove like a champion today, Michael says. Felipe nods. He can't speak. He's too emotional. But inside he thinks, I learned from the best. At the end of 2006, Michael Schumacher retires. 7 championships, 91 wins, nothing left to prove. He walks away, and Felipe Massa is alone. Felipe's first season without Michael. He's fast. He wins 3 races. He finishes 4th in the championship. But something is missing. After every qualifying session, Felipe used to walk to Michael's side of the garage. They would compare data. Michael would point out the small mistakes, the tiny improvements. Now there's no one. The engineers try. They give him data. They give him advice. But it's not the same, because the engineers tell him what the data says. Michael told him what the data meant. The championship fight. Felipe Massa is leading the world championship. He's won 6 races. He's consistent. He's confident. His main rival is Lewis Hamilton. Young, aggressive, fast. It comes down to the final race. Brazil. Felipe's home. The mathematics are simple. Felipe must win. Hamilton must finish 6th or lower. Felipe qualifies on pole. Hamilton qualifies 4th. Race day. The crowd is electric. Hundreds of thousands of people, all wearing yellow, all chanting Felipe's name. This is his moment. The lights go out. Felipe leads. Hamilton is 5th. Lap 10. Felipe is still leading. Hamilton is still 5th. Lap 20. Still leading. Still 5th. Lap 40. Still leading. Still 5th. Everything is perfect. Then the rain comes. Not heavy. Just enough to make the track slippery. just enough to change everything. Hamilton pits for intermediate tires. Felipe stays out. He's leading. He doesn't want to lose time, but the rain gets heavier. Felipe's tires are slipping. He's losing grip. He's losing time. He pits. Intermediate tires. Back out. He's still leading, but Hamilton has moved up to fourth. If the race ends now, Felipe is world champion, but there are still 10 laps left. Lap 60. Felipe is leading. Hamilton is fourth. Lap 65. Felipe is leading. Hamilton is fourth. Lap 69. The final lap. Felipe crosses the line. He wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. The crowd explodes. Felipe's engineer screams on the radio, "You are the world champion. You are the world champion." Felipe raises his fist. He starts crying. He did it. He's world champion. For 6 seconds, Felipe Massa is the happiest man on earth. Then the radio crackles again. Wait, we need to confirm. Felipe doesn't understand. Confirm what? Hamilton's position. Felipe's heart stops. On the final corner of the final lap, Timo Glock, driving on dry tires in the rain, loses grip. Hamilton passes him. Hamilton finishes fifth, not sixth. Fifth, one position higher, and that one position is enough. Lewis Hamilton is the 2008 world champion, by 1 point. Felipe Massa is not. Felipe sits in the car. He doesn't move. He doesn't speak. The crowd doesn't know yet. They're still celebrating, but Felipe knows. He climbs out of the car slowly. His team surrounds him. Someone tells him. He hears the words, but they don't make sense. He walks to the garage, sits down in the corner, puts his hands over his face, and he cries. Not because he lost, because he doesn't know what he did wrong. Later in the quiet of the motorhome, Felipe sits with his race engineer, Rob Smedley. What happened? Felipe asks. Glock. Final corner. Hamilton passed him. I know, but what did I do wrong? Where did I lose the championship? Rob doesn't answer, because the truth is, Felipe didn't do anything wrong. He drove perfectly. He won the race. He did everything right. But sometimes, in Formula 1, doing everything right is not enough. What would Michael have done? Felipe asks. Rob looks at him. I don't know. Felipe nods. But inside, he's screaming. Because Michael would have known. Michael would have seen the rain coming earlier. Michael would have adjusted his tire strategy. Michael would have pushed harder in Sector 2. Michael would have managed the gap better. Michael would have won. But Michael wasn't there. And Felipe had to figure it out himself. And he couldn't. That night, Felipe doesn't sleep. He replays the race in his mind. Every corner, every decision, every moment. He thinks about the lessons Michael taught him. Tire management, rain strategy, pressure control. He knows all of it. But knowing is not the same as doing. And in that final moment when the rain came, when the pressure was highest, when everything was on the line, Felipe froze. Not physically. He kept driving. He kept pushing. But mentally, he froze. Because for 2 years whenever something went wrong, Felipe could ask Michael. And now Michael was gone. And Felipe was alone. Felipe's career almost ends. Hungary. Qualifying. A spring from Rubens Barrichello's car detaches and strikes Felipe's helmet at 280 kilometers per hour. His skull fractures. He's in a coma. The doctors don't know if he'll survive. He does, but it takes months to recover. Months of surgery. Months of rehabilitation. Months of wondering if he'll ever race again. He does, but he's never the same. 2010, 2011, 2012. Felipe races. He wins races. Felipe moves to Williams, then Sauber, then retirement. He never wins another race. Years later, a journalist asks Felipe about 2008. Do you ever think about that final lap? Felipe nods. Every day. Do you think you could have done something different? Felipe pauses. I don't know, maybe, probably. If Michael had been there, do you think he would have told you what to do? Felipe smiles. Sad, tired. Michael wouldn't have told me. He would have shown me. That was the difference. Do you regret asking him for help? Do you regret learning from him? No. Michael taught me everything. He made me a better driver. He made me a race winner. But, Felipe looks away. But he also made me dependent. I learned how to drive like Michael, but I never learned how to think like Michael. And when he left, I realized I didn't know how to be myself. The journalist writes it down, then asks one more question. If you could go back to 2008, what would you do differently? Felipe doesn't hesitate. I would have called him. Michael. Yeah, I would have called him the night before the race. I would have asked him what to do if it rained. I would have asked him how to handle the pressure. I would have asked him everything. Do you think he would have answered? Felipe smiles. Yeah, he would have. Because that's who Michael Schumacher was. A man who taught his teammates everything. Even when it meant they might beat him. Even when it meant they might replace him. Even when it meant they might take his legacy. Michael Schumacher gave Felipe Massa the keys to greatness. But he couldn't give him the one thing that mattered most. The ability to use those keys when it mattered. Because knowledge is not the same as wisdom. And wisdom only comes from experience. From failure. From standing alone in the rain and figuring it out yourself. Felipe Massa had the knowledge. But in Brazil 2008, he needed the wisdom, and Michael wasn't there to give it to him. In 2013, Michael Schumacher suffers his skiing accident. He falls into a coma. He never wakes. Felipe hears the news. He doesn't speak to the press. He doesn't make a statement. He just sits.
quiet, and he thinks about all the times Michael helped him, all the times Michael stayed late after testing to review data, all the times Michael shared his secrets, all the times Michael made Felipe better. And Felipe realizes something. Michael gave him everything, but Felipe never said thank you. Not properly, not the way he should have. He always thought there would be time. Time to thank him, time to tell him what he meant, time to say the words. But now there is no time. Now there is only silence and regret. Years later, Felipe's son asks him a question. Papa, who was the best driver you ever raced against? Felipe doesn't hesitate. Michael Schumacher. Why? Felipe thinks. Because he wasn't just fast. He was smart. He understood racing in a way no one else did. And he taught me everything. Did you ever beat him? Felipe nods. A few times. Did he get angry? Felipe smiles. No. He congratulated me. Then he showed me how to do it better next time. His son's eyes widen. He helped you beat him. Yeah. Why? Felipe looks at his son. Because that's what greatness does. It doesn't hold back. It doesn't hide. It teaches. It shares. It makes everyone around it better. Do you miss him? Felipe's throat tightens. Every day, there is a photograph. Taken in 2008, Brazil. After the race, Felipe Massa sits in the corner of the Ferrari garage, hands over his face, crying. In the background, barely visible, is an empty chair. Michael's chair. The one he used to sit in. The one where he reviewed data. The one where he gave advice. It's empty, and it stays empty, because some absences are louder than presences. Some lessons are learned too late. Some knowledge is useless without the person who gave it to you. Felipe Massa knew too much. He knew how Michael braked, how Michael cornered, how Michael thought, but he didn't know how to be Michael. And in the end, that's what cost him the championship. Not talent, not speed, not knowledge, but the inability to stand alone, to trust himself, to be enough. Michael Schumacher gave Felipe Massa everything, except the one thing he needed most. The confidence to stop asking, what would Michael do? And start asking, what will I do? In Brazil 2008, Felipe asked the wrong question, and he's been living with the answer ever since.